Good evening. First, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. And I want to say on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, and I would say tonight that we are all really committed to having these town hall meetings because we're very interested in what you have to say and the kinds of concerns and issues that affect your life every day. I will say tonight that unfortunately Commissioner Rucci could not be here. He is out of town. He had to go out of town. So he sends his regrets for not being here. But we'll be sure that he gets to see the video and to hear all of your comments. So anyway, tonight, we're very interested in just having a conversation and discussion. We're interested in hearing what you have to say and the things that are of concern to you. And as you may know already, it is our intention to visit each district throughout the year. So we'll be going to a district in each quarter. And tonight, Commissioner Robinson has the honor of launching this initiative, if you will. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Commissioner Robinson, and he'll take over for the rest of the evening. But again, thank you all very, very much for being here tonight. We do appreciate your interest.
Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. I'd like to do some introductions and set the ground rules for this evening. In addition to 4 out of the 5 commissioners, we have all of our department heads here. So you will have the opportunity to ask questions not only of the commissioners, but of those staff members who have the expertise in certain areas. Now, we may not be able to answer all of your questions on the spot, but that's why we took your contact information down. So we will be able to get back to you quite quickly. So I'm going to introduce the directors who are sitting behind me, and then I'll get back to some of the ground rules for the evening. So, on my left, David Eichholz, Director of Finance. Marcia Keep, Acting Director of Economic Development. Eileen Minnick, Director of Community Services. Bill Stevens, Director of Emergency Services, and a District 1 resident. Another District 1 resident, Megan Donick, Acting Director of Human Resources. Our Acting County Administrator, Deborah Hall. Our Director of Public Works, Bill Shreve. And our Director of Planning and Growth Management, Peter Aludo. Also, we have some staff members who, some of whom are here voluntarily, and others who are working tonight. Carol DeSoto, Julie Bryson, Julie Vanderslice from the Commissioner's Wing. We have our Director of Media, Crystal Hunt, as well as Donna Fuqua from Media, who are videotaping this. And let me mention, the reason the videotaping is going on is this is an official commissioners meeting. We have our acting clerk, Carol DeSoto, here, and the video from tonight's meeting will be shown on county television. So this is, like I said, an official commissioners meeting. We have no time limits on the questions. Unlike formats in the past, we do ask that you keep it brief, that if you can, direct it to a specific person with a specific issue. And as I said earlier, we may not be able to answer the question tonight, but we certainly will get you an answer. And so we also would ask that you limit your questions to one question per person. And if somebody does ask the question that you were planning to ask before you get up, just in the effort of keeping things relatively brief, it's okay to say what he said or what she said. That'll work. And obviously, and I don't think this is necessary to really say, but we ask that you maintain proper decorum and be respectful of others, not necessarily the commissioners, but definitely our staff. And so I thought I would start with a couple of announcements. We're here in District 1, affectionately known as the Fightin' First, and we have a few projects that are taking place that some of you know about and others don't, that I thought I would highlight. You've probably seen the construction that's taking place on Hawthorne Road, Maryland Route 225. The National Guard staying in Charles County, and it is almost complete with their new armory. And that will be not only a facility for the National Guard, but will actually be a community center. And there'll be activities and events taking place that are hosted by the National Guard or being able to be rented out by community groups. And that brings us to the existing armory, the one on the corner of 225 and 301 in La Plata. As part of the deal to keep the Guard in Charles County, the county engaged in a land swap with the Maryland National Guard, and when they move out of the old facility, the county will be taking over that building. And it is an historic building. Certainly the outside is. It's a kind of a classic works progress administration architecture, sort of the end period of Art Deco. And so we are going to be very excited to renovate that space and likely have a county agency locate there sometime within the next couple of years. Another really exciting project, the fourth campus of the College of Southern Maryland, which is about to begin construction in Hughesville on Route 5 opposite the Harley-Davidson motorcycle dealership. And that's going to be a real central location for students not only in Charles County, but in St. Mary's and Calvert, and even Prince George's County to take classes here in Charles County. And will also help jumpstart the Hughesville revitalization plan that the commissioners have been backing for the past several years. You may have read recently about some thoughts about a 4-year degree program at CSM, and it's probably not going to happen this year, but I think as time marches on, you will see some 4-year degree programs, especially in popular areas of study such as nursing, coming to Charles County. And that's going to be a very exciting aspect, and will also keep people here in the county and not having to transfer to places like College Park or Towson. And also, as the college campus expands there, an art center is also part of the future plans. And obviously it's great to bring art and plays and concerts and the like to Charles County. But as we also know, this is the first year that the 6 Charles County high schools that are holding graduation, St. Charles is a year away from holding their first graduation. These graduations will be taking place in the county at North Point High School. I think that's more of a transitional location until we can find a venue independent of one of the high schools, and I'm hoping that that art center in Hughesville will be that location. Stay tuned. And then finally, thanks to the creativity and hard work of a lot of county staff, we have acquired land that will become the Popes Creek Rail Trail, and that's a 3.5-mile segment of a former railroad bed of originally the Baltimore Potomac Railroad when it was chartered in the mid-1800s, eventually became part of the D&O and now is part of CSX. And what most people don't realize is that we're all familiar with the trains that go through La Plata going parallel to 301. That line used to terminate at Popes Creek. And I think it was 1949 when they closed the line down. And the line came back to life in 1970 when the power plant opened right here in Morgantown. And it was extended from where it used to go towards Popes Creek down to the power plant in Morgantown. We have acquired the 3.5 miles. It is an amazingly beautiful stretch of country. There's a trestle that goes over actual Popes Creek, and we're also going to be acquiring, or have acquired, the former Smeco power plant building that's on the banks of the Potomac, which means that this trail will not only be a great trail, but it will also open up water access for our citizens along the Potomac River. So these are a few really exciting projects that you'll be seeing a lot about over the next 2 or 3 years. Some will get completed sooner than others. But again, it's just showing that there's a lot of movement taking place here in Charles County. So with that, I mentioned the ground rules because this is an official commissioners meeting. We want to make sure everybody is on microphone. There's a microphone set up in front of me, so I would ask that when I call your name to come up and speak. And if you can direct your question to a specific commissioner or a specific topic, that would be helpful. Or if you just want to make a comment, that's fine as well. So I'm going to start reading off the names, and so I would ask, I'm going to read the first 2 names so that we can have the on-deck speaker in place. So the first person who's speaking is from right here in Newburgh, and that's Robert Cherzia. And following Robert Chazira, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, it's Carolyn Peer. Sir.
I'll speak louder. Thank you for this opportunity. We're limited to one question, and I have 3. So the main one I guess I'm going to have to address is the Van Gogh stop. So I'm working the Clifton's.
Mark's still not working.
Folks, can we do something about getting the PA system on that microphone?
That microphone can't be turned on, amplified, so you'll have to speak up.
I'm speaking loud.
Okay, I'll do my best to repeat your question if necessary.
Van Gogh has a stop at the gates of Clifton. And that's a mile from my house, and it's all uphill. And we're all getting elderly in the neighborhood. And we'd like to get some stops down in the neighborhood. Like one intersection would be viable would be at Windermere and Meadowview, which is kind of centrally located in the front section. And then the back section, I guess you could go with Clifton Road and Potomac View. I think there'd be two stops down in the area that could access for elderly people, and the young people could access it as well, and increase ridership, I believe.
Okay, well, I'm going to call Eileen Minica. She's the Director of Community Services, and she ultimately is in charge of Van Gogh. And the question for those who didn't hear, there is a Van Gogh stop at the entrance to Clifton on the Potomac, and this gentleman is asking if additional stops can be provided inside the Clifton community.
The shortest one of the group. Very good question. Very good question. I'm Eileen Minnick. As Commissioner Robinson had said, I'm the Director of Community Services. Community Services is the department where the Division of Van Gogh is associated, if you're not really familiar with my department. We also have aging, senior programs, housing authority, recreation, childcare. So just to give you a little background. Very good question. We have found that our ridership numbers continue to grow. I can't say that we can definitely do what you're requesting, but what I would say, we'd be willing to look at it, but I also have to advise, the transit system is very complicated. It's not as easy as just having a bus do an extra loop through another area or whatever the case. Everything's run on times. And with our bus coming down this part of the county or other directions of the county, they're all synced as close as possible to be able to connect back at the hubs. One would be the La Plata hub, the Walmart area, as the La Plata hub, and then our Waldorf hub is the Park and Ride. So again, everything's timed so the buses, a rider such as yourself, if you were taking a bus and you needed to get to Waldorf, you're hoping to make the connection points at the hub, so to speak. So it's all a timing thing, so it's not just as easy as, coming into a neighborhood or anything along that line. But we're willing to look at some things. It would also depend on ridership numbers. Would we have enough numbers to support that also? Most of our funding is federal dollars, and then we also receive state dollars, and there's a small county match that comes with all the funding we receive. So we have to go through a lot of things also with MTA, Maryland Transit Authority, and others with any of our routes. To also add to that, I'm very happy to say our ridership numbers have increased greatly. So it's a very good thing, but it's also a problem for us too in accommodating all the riders because we have limited number of buses as our riderships are increasing. So we recently applied, as we do every year, for additional grant monies to purchase additional buses, which would then assist in trying to meet the needs of certain neighborhoods also, because then we have extra buses to make those runs, and the timing would then fall into sync. But I'm willing to give you my card, or I understand you signed in, and be able to have staff kind of reach back and kind of chat, because I don't know your ridership numbers for Clifton on the Potomac in the neighborhood itself, and maybe if there are enough riders and there's a way to adjust that timing, we could look at something. Another thing just to share also, and I'm probably over-educating, but I like to try and give as much information as possible. Another thing we need to look at times are the different roads, and are the buses going to be able to get in safely, do the turnarounds, or whatever the case may be, and anything associated with a particular neighborhood. So it's not as easy as just saying, sure, we'd love to do it, but I will say, sure, we're willing to have further discussion and see, are there any possibilities? You're welcome. Would you like my card, or is it okay if I get your information off that sheet? Or
Later.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
That's the easiest question concerning Clifton on the Potomac I can ever remember. So we've got Carolyn Keir up next, and following Carolyn Keir, we have Ned Chalker.
I feel foolish standing in front of us.
But you need to for television purposes.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, it's recording your voice.
Thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity and for your staff coming all the way down here. I think it's a great idea. My major question I'm not going to ask, I am a resident of Swan Point, and I know that you will be hearing from others that would like to promote the development there. My question sort of kicks off from what Ken had to say about all the wonderful projects that are coming to Charles County. All the improvements are to facilities, community buildings, and so forth. So partly I want to say what is happening to the Belle Elton High School project, and that I know the county is involved in, if someone could speak to that. And the second one is sort of something that I have had a bug on for any number of years, and that is the number. This is such a beautiful ride down 257, but the first thing you see are some buildings that have holes in the roofs and black tar paper over things. This building here, and it's an eyesore. And I was working with, I think it was a Mr. Litton, or talking to him. I don't know, is he still with the county?
Yes.
On violations, and what can be done to get rid of some of these, eyesores. We want to improve things, and that's great, but let's try to get rid of some other things, and whoever can address my question is.
Okay, I'll address your second question, and then for the first question, I will turn it over to Ms. Hall. The best thing that I can ask you to do is to send me an email or any of us an email with specifics about properties that aren't looking good, so that we have a clean and lean program that was enacted a couple of years ago. We have ways of getting property owners to clean up their properties. So I need specifics, and then we'll see what we can do. Concerning the Belle Elton question, I'm going to ask Ms. Hall.
Good evening. I'm Deb Hall. I'm the acting county administrator for Charles County Government. There's been a lot of activity with Belle Elton Alumni Association. Unfortunately, a lot of that it's wrapped up in a lease and some legal matters. So the majority of it is handled in closed session, and there's a lot of legal ramifications. So I can't talk in really specific terms, but what I can say is that the commissioners are moving forward with Belle Elton Alumni Association. I think there's some misinformation out there. The first thing that I'd like to say is the county has always owned the property and continues to own the property. We had a long-term lease with the Belle Elton Alumni Association, and there are some terms in that lease that haven't been met, and those are the legal matters that we're handling in closed session. The commissioners do plan to utilize the property in the future. How, who, what, and where is still yet to be determined, but all of that is being worked on very diligently behind the scenes.
I'm going to add something.
Okay.
I just think it's very important that we add that we very much understand and respect the history of that building, and we respect the efforts of the Belle Elton Community Association, Alumni Association, and it's still my guess that when this all plays out, it'll be a win-win situation for the county as well as for the Belle Elton Alumni Association. And we are actually going to do more to promote the building and its no other way of saying it. It's sad history, and it's important for county residents to be aware of it. And so, don't for a minute think that we don't respect the past, and we will continue to work very diligently. Mr. Chalker is next, and then following Mr. Chalker, Ursula Culver.
I also want to thank you all for coming down here and
It's
listening.
not that far down here.
Not as far down as I am, Cobb Island. And I'm here to talk about the Cobb Island Citizens Association, which is a 501c3. And we're in the process of renovating the hall down there. It was a pavilion way back in 1928 when it was built. In the 50s, they closed it in with lights, but not much has been done to that place since then. So we're thinking of doing a major renovation. And I don't know if the county has support a project like this, whether it's economic development or whatever. I'm just asking a question. Is there somebody I can work with the county to help us, complete this project?
Okay, well,
We want to make it green. We want to have solar panels. We want to upgrade the facility for the uses of people on Cobb Island. And that's everything from 4-H to Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, AA meetings that are ready to take place in that meeting. Building Plus, it really conducts the business of the residents of Cobb Island. So we just need a little help and assistance.
Okay. Well, there are several possibilities, and I will underscore the word possibilities because we're obviously not in a position to make any kinds of promises. So I think that the county administrator's office would probably be the best place to start, and I'm sure Ms. Hall will be in touch with you to give you some options on grants you may apply for.
That's really what I want to do.
And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Cobb Island Citizens Association for the work you did on the Cobb Island Post Office, which was a volunteer effort, and you took what was a pretty rundown building, rundown facility, and it looks fabulous, and it took a while, but it really is a gem. So thank you for what you've done on Cobb Island.
Thank you.
Ms. Culver is next, and then following Ms. Culver is Diana O'Connell.
Basically, I'm just here to second Mr. Chalker's request for information. And as you know, Cobb Island, the Citizen Association is a busy little organization, and we want to hold on to what we have. And our little building is in bad shape. Mold is taking over, and so we have to do something. And as we proved with the post office, we are working.
No,
We can do it ourselves.
I know you can
Just
do a
a little
lot.
bit. Give us a little lift under our arms, and we're going to do it.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do to assist. And after Diana O'Connell, Michael Lucchese.
Hi, I'm here for Ocelot Street. Most of you guys know about Ocelot. Commissioner Peter Murphy, excuse me. When I watched one of your meetings on February 2nd, you assumed that the Ocelot neighborhood was wanting the gate to be closed just because we don't want cars coming through. The truth is, and we've been saying it over and over again, it's the children that are walking. We are a walk-to-school neighborhood. Our elementary, our high school. Wade Elementary School is the second highest elementary school students. I have been doing emails back and forth and getting some response, but feeling like I'm still having to do research. When I did some of the researches that they had given me to compare Wade to Neal, Turner, Middleton, and Mudd, they do have students, not as much students as Wade, but Wade only has one bus. The rest of those have 5 to 6 buses that are taking the children. So the amount of walkers are not compared the same. They do not have a high school that is a walker school. Your county has said that when Ocelot Street gate is open, over 1,200 cars per day will be coming through that neighborhood to endanger our children, let alone our residents. I don't understand. We have Constitution Hills that meets up with Autumn Hills, and I was given an email that said they have 3 ways out. I've gone into Constitution Hills and spoken to the neighborhoods. It's a one-way in, one-way out. I feel like when it comes to the residents, the taxpayers, we're given a rule. When it comes to developers, they're given a different rule. Your code section 74C states that a development must have a minimum of 2 access points for subdivision containing over 100 homes, but Berryfield Manor is one way in, one way out, with over 200 homes in there. I'm not sure why it's one standard over another. Our children are in danger. We needed to keep up until Old McDaniel Road is completed and a study is done, because once that happens, no one's going to come into Hampshire when they can go out to Old McDaniel Road, to McDaniel Road, to Smallwood. That's what we're asking.
Well, I have good news for you on that. And you mentioned when Old McDaniel Road is completed. As you know, first of all, McDaniel Road is currently under construction to link the two ends of it. And then just a few weeks ago, the commissioners instructed staff to move towards completing Old McDaniel Road. And I said at the time it gets a little confusing and that someone should make a motion to change the name of Old McDaniel Road so it doesn't confuse us. But however, when Old McDaniel Road is completed, that's going to make Ocelot Street almost an afterthought for traffic.
Right, but in the meanwhile of the 2 years it'll take for Old McDaniel Road to be constructed, those over 1,200 cars will be coming through to endanger those students.
Well, we're going to do everything we can with traffic calming to make sure that it's as safe as possible. And there is, I've been an ally, but by the same token, there is an emergency services element to that, and we need to be able to get to citizens quickly, whether it's for EMS or fire or the like. And so what we have decided to do was move forward with Old McDaniel Road. And yeah, you mentioned 2 years to get it completed, but at least there's a timeline on there.
Right, but I guess I'm confused why Constitution can have a gate up for over 8 years, and that hasn't been a problem. And when you were saying a choker point being in there, according to what I've read in some of the old commissioners' things, they do not have to put a choker point until after they've completed.
Well, I'm certainly not going to dispute your facts because it's obvious you've done a lot of research, but we would have to look at Constitution bills to see what the situation is there concerning the gate and the like. But, between McDaniel Road and Old McDaniel Road, we are doing a lot to alleviate the concerns of you and your neighbors.
Right, and we appreciate that. It's just we have less than a month. We'll open
and I can also tell you that sometimes government is frustrating.
Yeah.
Because things just don't happen as fast as we want it to happen.
Right. Well, it's just one of those unfair things for one neighborhood and Berry Manor to only have one entrance in and out.
And I'm going to let Commissioner Stewart also address your issues.
Good evening. So, many times we've talked about this, and so I've had the opportunity to talk with staff over and over and over about this, to the point where they're running down, bringing me maps, showing me maps because I'm not getting it. So they're showing me maps. So the neighborhoods that you named, they do have more than one access point. It's not the traditional access point that I was looking for, but you can get out like Constitutional Hills 3 other ways. I didn't believe it until I saw it myself. Yes, I understand. They literally was running down, bringing me maps. And the other issue was, as Commissioner Robinson shared, I was fortunate enough to have the commitment and support all the other commissioners when I brought the agenda request forward regarding Oxford Street and brought in staff for the update. We were fortunate that our director was able to move some money around in the budget so we can start development phase of Old McDaniel Road now. And also, the commissioners also made the commitment to say that when Old McDaniel Road is completed, we would revisit Ocelot Street that connects, putting the gate back up. Also, the director of planning can talk more about this, that based on our conversation a few weeks ago, the developer wasn't even finished with the final approval. So you're not even talking about them building homes tomorrow. It could, depending on how fast they move through the project, it could be another year before they even sell their first home. We don't know. We don't know how fast they're going to move, but we do know the only thing that we have a control over right now is Old McDaniel Road. And based on the idea of the planning, we've already started, and that road could be done, completed in 2 years. So I understand the statistics that you're sharing with the 1,200 cars. It is our hope that we would be able to avoid that. That's one reason why we wanted to escalate the project. And I can just turn it over plan. They have all of the information, but they've been very helpful for me understanding the scope of it.
Good evening. Peter Lillido, Director of Planning Growth Management. Based on where we stand today, the developer of that project is 6 to 8 weeks, has 6 to 8 more weeks work to do before he can record his lots. And then construction of buildings thereafter takes another several months. So we're going to be, late summer, early fall before the first housing goes up. As has been stated, the design for Old McDaniel is underway, and the gate will remain closed until the choker is put in, and then when the road is opened up, we can revisit it. We'll have. I think I sent an email. I'm not sure if it was to you or who it was. That once Old McDaniel opens in that time period, we'll have plenty of time to study the road and find out exactly how many people are using it, what the average speed is, which way they're going in and out. We will have our engineers studying that. I know that 1,200 trips, as the consultant originally projected, sounds terrible, but we really don't think it's going to be that bad. But we'll know it when we open it, and we'll see. We'll take measurements, and we'll know which way they go, which way they turn, and we'll report that back, and the commission can revisit then. If they feel that there's something wrong with the traffic speed or the traffic count, then they can elect to close it again at that time.
So as far as you're saying that the gate will stay closed until the choker point is put in at least?
Correct.
Okay, and then later on I can meet with you and figure out where those. Constitution has a second entrance out, and Manor Hill would have one.
I think Commissioner Stewart can probably give you a tour.
Okay.
We'll make sure the information is forwarded to you.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Just one other thing I want to mention. This current Board of Commissioners has been in office for a little more than 3 months, and Commissioner Davis and I are obviously the veterans on the board, but I've never seen two commissioners get up to speed quicker than Commissioners Stewart and Murphy. I mean, the amount of homework that they both are doing and getting just knowledgeable with the entire county, with the hundreds of issues that we deal with on a weekly basis. The electorate did well by electing them. Our next speaker is Mr. Lucchese, followed by Brendan Moon.
Good evening, Commissioners and staff. Thank you for this opportunity for me to speak to you. And yes, I'm from District 3 in Waldorf. I couldn't wait till our meeting to come down here. Beautiful ride down here, too. I certainly did appreciate that. And the Newburgh Fire Department station building is also wonderful. What I would like to bring to the commissioners' attention that maybe they might do some research on is it has to do with Van Gogh and the ride-on bus service. I live in Pinefield, and the Pinefield North and South Shopping Center is split by Mattawoman Beantown Road. And as you may or may not know, that is the county transfer point from PG to Charles. And I happen to be out walking on both sides of Mattawoman Beantown Road, and there is absolute total filth and trash and debris and dirt and mud right there where the bus stops are, and it continues to both ends. This also might tie into the Waldorf Beautification Project, if that is still alive. And what I would like you to look into is possibly where these stops are, is to have pavilions for the people that have to wait for the transfer points. And most of all, trash cans that get emptied. Someone to take responsibility for what's going on up there. And I see it as part of a PG County situation also. So I don't know, is it Irene?
Actually, it sounds like this crisscrosses two departments.
Right.
Public Works for cleaning up the area, and Eileen Minnick for keeping the buses rolling. But I think that they've heard you loud and clear, and I'm sure Mr. Shreve will do his best to investigate the area that you're talking about. And in terms of shelters and the like, Eileen Minnick can come before us if she has a capital improvement project to add more shelters for Van Gogh stops.
I would ask that you get out and stroll up and down and just take note of what's going on.
We will.
You know, I would challenge everyone in this room, when you pull up to the traffic light, get out of your tunnel vision mode and look off to the side and see the litter that's in our county, and think about some way that we can try to eliminate this and get the county cleaner. Maybe pick up just one piece. If everyone picked up one piece of litter, I don't have the answer, but this could be a societal situation. I don't know, but we need to work on it.
Agreed. Thank you for your
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If there's time, I have other questions.
Okay. Commissioner Stewart would like to address your comments, Mr. Lucchese.
Oh, wonderful.
Just real quick, I just wanted to say thank you again for inviting me out to the parade last Saturday. And as we discussed this issue, I will be following up with staff. And as Commissioner Robertson said, there's two departments really that this falls in. So I'll be working with our acting county administrator, Mrs. Hall, to get this information and your concerns out to the two departments and see what we can do. I did go back, as you know, I'm in that part of the neighborhood often,
Yes.
every week, almost daily. And one of the concerns that I do have, that I see that's going to be a concern that's right there, is that it's not county property. And so that might be a hiccup about the pavilions. But I'm going to share the information and see what we can come up with, and then follow up with you. All right?
Well, now's not the time, but why don't we have a bus stop where it's not
We'll
county
talk.
property?
We'll talk. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming to our meeting.
After Mr. Moon will be Norm Costa.
Good evening, Commissioners. I came with two purposes. The first one really brief. It was really, I wanted to share, acknowledge and thank the Planning Department. As you know, I work with the Board of Appeals, and I have on a number of occasions asked the Planning Department to do what they could to try to get more information about our hearings posted online in advance. And I was really pleased to see them go kind of above and beyond my expectation on that. So there were cases coming up in April, lots of materials posted online to us. So I just wanted to say thank you and acknowledge their faith are going above and beyond. The second thing I wanted to sort of pose as a question, I think the county does a lot of really great things towards transparency and putting information out. The website has a lot of great information. I really appreciate that the county has staff here to videotape, and I'm sure this will be online in a few days. Or sooner.
No, I'm being very serious about that. I'm amazed at how fast county staff turns around. Several hour recordings of video is on our website, often the same day, yes. and if not the same day, the next day.
Absolutely. I would like to make a suggestion related to the videos online. One of the things I have had trouble with the online viewing is that different web browsers don't let you play the videos well. So some web browsers work better than others. And so even though it's posted online, it's sometimes difficult to see. It also doesn't work well with mobile devices. So I would ask that the county consider posting those videos on YouTube or some other medium where the county staff doesn't have to sort of re-engineer how to do video publishing.
Well, we could take a look at creating a county YouTube channel specific for planning
commission. There is one already, but
right.
Yes,
but we could expand on that and make it more easily navigable as well. So we'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
Norm Costa, followed by Bill Botner.
My question is really addressed to the county commissioners, and it involves, I'm the board president of an HOA in Swan Point, which is a 320 homes in there, 320 properties, if you will. And for the longest time, we've been told by the developer that we're going to see an expansion into something called the villages at Swan Point. this thing had a hiccup in it when the Critical Area Commission put some impediments on any approval of anything until the shoreline access in the community was resolved. It's my understanding that sometime last week, either March 16th or 17th, the county commissioners signed off on that memorandum of agreement and sent it to developers. Have you seen it come back from the developers signed it? They've had it for a week. They've had it for a week.
Should I just say
according to schedule, I understand.
Okay. As I mentioned at the meeting last week, or found out at the meeting last week, the attorney for the developer is out of the country and is still out of the country, and we are waiting for return.
That's a big company. They have other attorneys.
I can't speak for the developer. If you
Well, I would suggest that you get your county administrator put a blowtorch on Swan Point Development Company and find another attorney within that law firm that can do something with this stuff and not just wait till she returns from Nirvana, wherever she happens to be.
I understand it's the Galapagos Islands.
Okay, so right now you don't have a signed agreement.
Signed agreement, no.
Okay, so we're still waiting for this one attorney who's now on a critical path. She's never land somewhere. I'm waiting for her to come back.
Went from paradise to never.
I would strongly suggest that you go to the Swan Point Development Company and discuss it with a gentleman who's the project officer over there. His name is Dave Carroll, and say some action needs to be taken, and not wait for an attorney just to take her time to come back. So this thing has been hanging around now for over 5 years, and it's one little point. Okay?
You have another question?
Well, is that, once that thing is signed, is it going to be a public document? The MOA, memorandum of agreement.
I would assume, since this is being requested by the Critical Area Commission, that it would be a very public document.
Okay. So we need to get Swan Point Development Company to find somebody to authorize them to sign that document and get it back to county commissioners. That's my understanding. Okay.
That's correct.
It's important because the general consensus of the community where I live is that everybody is generally in favor of the expansion of the villages of Swan Point. And that's been going on for 10 years now. And I think it's something that the county really needs to focus on. Even though I'm only allowed for one question, what I'm going to hope for is that some other speaker will come and ask you a question.
Very creative, Norm.
They'll ask you a question of the timeline for replacing the 1940s Very Nice Bridge.
Oh, I'll talk about that Very Nice Bridge.
Thank you.
We had a briefing this afternoon from staff concerning the Harry Nice Bridge. Some of you may remember it was about a year ago that the state designated over $50 million towards its replacement, and that really took the project from an if to a when. And I asked staff to start providing the commissioners with updates on how that $56 million is being spent. I understand that it's mostly for property acquisition. The new bridge is going to be located just north of the existing bridge, so that will require the purchase of land on the Virginia side, where there's currently a park, and on the Maryland side, where Aqualand currently sits. And then there's also, because it's located right off the naval base at Dahlgren, that's been exploding ordnance for about 100 years, that Navy divers and other divers are combing the bottom of the Potomac River to make sure there aren't any unexploded ordnance there before we start sending people into the pilings in the ground. The other thing I'll say, and this is just a guess, that our new governor is kind of a roads and bridge guy. At least that's what he is claiming, and I'm hoping that under his leadership that maybe we can accelerate the pace of the replacement of the Nice Bridge. So that's where the Nice Bridge is at. But there's now real money is being spent on its replacement. Our next speaker, Bill Botner. And then after Bill Botner, Beverly Ludy. That's all I have on the sign-in sheet, but after Ms. Ludy speaks, I'll open it up if there's anybody who hasn't signed up who would like to ask a question. Mr. Botner.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm a resident of Newburgh. I live in Clifton on the Potomac. Been down here since '82. Access. We only have one access to our neighborhood, coming in and coming out. It's very hilly. It comes around by a big pond. problem with the storms before. We've had that pond. You
Yeah,
couldn't
road
pass
classes,
it.
right.
There's no passable way to get in and out. We used to have a road called Maloney's Road as a right-of-way down there at one time.
Is that the one that connected to Pope's Creek Road in the back?
No, sir. This is all comes off out of the Clifton and will come right out of 301, almost down by the truck stop.
Okay.
And it's been closed, though. So I don't know if there's any way you can look into this to see that maybe we might have some way of getting this open again.
Okay, well, again, this is a multi-jurisdictional department issue. I can have our Director of Planning and Growth Management see what easements, or if the county owns the property, or if it's owned privately, and also ask Mr. Stevens from Emergency Services to look at it from that vantage point as well. But we'll take a look at it and we'll get back to you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you. Beverly Rudy.
Well, I had two questions, but I'll limit it to one and maybe catch you afterwards on the second one. So the one that's most on my mind is wearing my Christ Church hat, which has to do with internet access on the Route 257. And it's more of a question and a statement that in your negotiations with Comcast for renewal of your contract, I hope that you will remember the rural areas that do not have internet access.
Well, we haven't officially decided, but I have volunteered to personally be a member of the negotiating team when the Comcast contract comes up, because I think that broadband is not a privilege but a right. And if you live in a rural area, you shouldn't be penalized for living in a rural area. And obviously, it's at a time when you're renegotiating a contract when you have the most power and influence. So I'm hoping that when we sit down, I'm hoping the first thing that happens when we sit down is that Comcast presents us with a plan of expansion. And if not, I think the negotiating team needs to really get on them to do that.
How do the schools get their internet access?
That was done through a state project, I believe. And so, fortunately, we do have every school in the county, even those in the most rural, are wired.
There's no way that could come down the hill a quarter of a mile, is there?
Unfortunately, broadband wasn't dealt with the same way the phone company was dealt with 100 years ago, where the phone company was required to go that last mile. And, fortunately, we have increased through wireless capabilities the coverage area in the county. You can see it with your cell phone service that you have a lot less dead zones than we used to have, and that also enables people to have wireless coverage. But I also recognize that it's expensive as well. And like even with wireless phones, the ones that you can always count on in a disaster are landlines, and that's the same is true with broadband.
So I have a negotiating proposal if they don't expand the internet access, and that is that every time they call me up and urge me to sign up for Comcast Business, they ought to be levied a fine.
Okay, we'll see if we can introduce a bill that can increase our revenue by fining Comcast every time they make one. Okay, since I know we can go right back to the first speaker who did want to ask a couple of other questions, and since we've gotten through, Mr. Mayor, you have a question?
Number one, thank you all for coming down. I don't think there's anyone in this audience that appreciates that you all have to go through the public meetings, etc. And my compliments to you all. This isn't a question, it's a statement. I would like to really, on at least behalf of my community, thank your roads division for the job they've done through all this snowfall. I encourage you to go out and talk to Steve Staples and every one of his men and thank them.
Oh, we have.
They did a yeoman's job, and I guess that leads into a question about your budget, though. I know how much you go over in these snow. You can't do the budget every year. foresee how much snow you have to work on. How is that going to affect our budget for the next fiscal year, and what might it do to our tax rate?
Wow. Mr. Eccles?
David planted this question.
Oh, I truly doubt it.
It was supposed to be a softball, not a hardball. Okay, so my name is David Eichholz. I'm Director of Fiscal Administrative Services, and your question, former Delegate Mayor, is how do we budget for snow removal and is it going to impact us? We budget a minimum amount of snow removal because we don't want to tie up our resources for a winter that we don't have any snow removal. We also have what is commonly known as fund balance. It's the accumulated savings of the county since 1658. And we reserved some money in there for snow removal, and then we could also tap the unreserved fund balance in the event we have quite a few snowstorms like we did this past year. And that's exactly how we fund snow removal. That's how we budget for it. It may not sound like the best way to do it. We would love to dump a lot of money into snow removal and then never use it. But with our limited resources in our budget, that means we're going to take away from a police officer on the street or one of our snow removal equipment operators. So we have to try to balance our needs with our resources.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions who didn't sign up? Sir? And then Mr. Kier. Can you identify yourself?
My name is Bill Jackson, and I've been a resident of New Grove for about 60 years. And I live on a small farm here locally. I'd like to thank the gentleman from Pinefield about the trash issue. If you ride down to 57, as I'm sure you do, Mr. Robertson, I'm really getting tired looking at all this trash. And I've contacted State Roads because I know it's not a county issue. They're the ones that are responsible for that. And I haven't got any response, had any luck with him doing anything. So if you've got some leverage with him, that would be nice, number one. Number two, the internet issue is a problem, and I agree with the lady that spoke about that earlier. And the issue that Danny Mayer just talked about, I'd like to take it one step further. I understand that the county is not financially in good shape and that the budget is needs to be addressed, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect our taxes and how we're going to be able to afford all these renovations and projects and stuff.
Well, let me clear one thing up. The county is in fine fiscal shape.
Okay.
Revenues are not what we were hoping they would be, but we have a professional staff and you have commissioners who recognize what they can and cannot do. And the budget is always a challenge, and it will be a challenge this year. I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I don't think you're going to see anything resembling a property tax increase. What I would like to see is the appraisals and assessments go up so that we get more property taxes without increasing the tax rate. And we're starting to see that turnaround. As many of you know, we are in a 3-year cycle with assessments, and we just had the first third of the county assessed where it actually increased for the first time since the recession. So we are seeing the turnaround. But we just this week received 2 AAA bond ratings from the ratings agencies and a AA+, and that is basically a vote of confidence from the financial world that we do things well here in terms of being fiscally responsible.
Well, the county usually does get a AAA bond rating. I'll agree with you there. But you have to admit that they always struggle every year with the budget. And I understand that there are some indications that there'll be a deficit. In county agencies have to cut here and cut there to make
and
those
we will
things
cut
work.
as necessary. I mean, we are required by law to have a balanced budget, so we will have a balanced budget.
Well, I'm mentioning this because I'm concerned as a lifelong resident of Charles County and living in this area. We live down here by choice and we like it. But, when you talk about taxes, you've got Waldorf and Bryan's Road and some of those areas that are constantly building, and they're taking all our resources, up there. And I'm concerned about the people down here being kind of left out, but yet being charged a lot of taxes, and we don't have the services.
Okay, thank you. And then concerning the litter, I agree with you. I think it's just despicable behavior on the part of citizens. I will talk to the folks at SHA to see if we could do a better job of cleaning up here along 257. Sure. And I think Mr. Eichholz, our Director of Finance, Fiscal and Administrative Services, will address a little further your concerns.
Well, actually, just today, we, as Commissioner Robinson said, we refinanced some of our old debt. It's like refinancing your mortgage so you can get a better, lower interest rate and save some money. We saved $1.3 million today replacing our old debt with our new debt. So we're constantly looking at ways to save the county money without taxing you, without cutting services. That's our number one priority, is to try to get all your needs satisfied without raising taxes and without cutting expenses. But sometimes one of those two things have to happen, and every year our needs are always greater than our resources. But again, as my former boss once told me, we've been in existence since 1658 and we'll be in existence tomorrow, which means we'll balance the budget one way or the other. And I have the full confidence of this board that they will hear all the needs, make all the right decisions, and balance the budget again this year, because we have to. We're not like the federal government who can operate at a deficit. We have to balance the budget by July 1.
Thank you. Mr. Kier, you wanted to say something?
I'm Porter Kier from Swan Point. I have more of a curiosity question than anything else. For some time, there's been a lot of work going on in the median strip of 301, starting south, working its way north. I've asked a number of people if they could tell me what's going on there, and nobody seems to know. And while I may be the only one that doesn't know, I thought maybe you could share with the rest of us.
I wish I could say they were laying broadband lines.
Is it cable or sewer, or what is it? That's it.
It's stormwater management is what it is. Am I correct on that?
I'm not familiar with it.
Well, I'm very familiar. If you drive 301 from the junction here at 257 north to La Plata,
it's been working its way north gradually.
Right. And it's my understanding it's a stormwater management issue so that the water doesn't flood during storms.
Is that state
That's a state project.
All right.
Just so that people know, if a road has a number, it's a state road. If a road has a name only, it's a county road. So if it's, MD 257, also known as Rock Point Road, but if it's got that number, it's state jurisdiction. Same thing with US 301. People have the wrong idea that it's because it has a US in front of it, that it's a federal highway. It's a state highway. Yes, ma'am, you have another question?
Well, who are the people that go around, I call them the bad boys, I'm sorry, and clean it up? Aren't they from the county?
Are you talking about the litter patrol? Yeah, those are generally either community service for getting a speeding ticket, or they are incarcerated at the detention center. But they
clean up state roads.
Right. They're sent wherever there's litter. Anyone else have any question? Sir? Mr. Hancock? Come up to the microphone, please.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for coming down here. I'm David Hancock, and I am representing the Charles County Farm Bureau. I was pretty late, so I don't know if this question came up, but it's more of a concern than a question, and it's in regards to the House bill that failed, Bill 711, also known as the Quick Take Law. We oppose that, and mainly, and I know what it was intended for, and I think if that bill was written for what it's intended for, it probably would have garnered some more support. But the way that bill was written, I think that it could have been used for some things that it's not intended for, and that's kind of scary. And I do know that was a bill that came from the county, and I just wanted to know if anybody could speak on.
You want to talk? Okay, Commissioner Murphy would like to address this.
I couldn't agree with you more. In reading the bill, it would make a lot of people nervous. I think that if we pursue that next year, what we really need to do is to do a preamble on that bill. So it really explains what that bill is all about and what the intention of the county is. Because if I think you understand what the intention is, people will understand that and will support that. But I couldn't agree with you more. If you read the bill, it does not do it exactly what we were hoping it would do. And thank you for bringing that to our attention. And as you know, that bill did not, didn't go anywhere this year. But I think the way to handle that would be to actually put a preamble with that. So we'll look at that for next year. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to add one other thing concerning the quick take bill. And I stated this even when we were expressing support for it. Had it made it through committee and gotten passed by the General Assembly, it would have wound up on the ballot, and I predicted there was no way it was ever going to win because it was too focused on the words eminent domain as opposed to what it was intended to do. And for those who don't know, what it was intended to do is some of the older roads in the county are set up in a way that's kind of weird, where we own the roadway, but we don't own the land that's actually on it. So if you take a road like Bumpy Oak Road, if we need to put a pipe through it, a sewer line, anything, we need to get permission from a property owner who probably doesn't even realize they own the road. And so the quick take authority was intended so that if we did have a project that needed to be done, that we didn't have to go through the process, the lengthy process of trying to make that road work or utility work happen. As Commissioner Murphy said, if this comes back, we'll make sure it's written in a much clearer way so that it's understood that we're not trying to take anyone's property for a house or any other kind of facility. Does anyone else have any questions? Ms. Talcott?
Well, they're statements, I guess. Ms. Donick over here, Human Resources, I want to praise her work. I have a lot of illnesses. We have a lot of problems, and she always fixes them for us. So
all of our directors do an excellent job.
I would like to say Peter Luto does that also. Not the illness part, but and they're talking about the bus stops. And last year at a public forum, I brought forward the ugly bus stop on 301 where you sit at the light. Everybody does. And the pavilions are just a mess. And then there's one other, and that is if you go behind lots of the shopping centers, which I do to go out the back ways, they're full of trash. I mean, it looks like the landfill. And I was wondering if there's any way to force these shopping centers to at least pick that up and maybe improve their appearance.
Okay, I think staff has heard you, and we'll do what we can do legally.
You heard me? Okay.
I think we'll take one more question if anybody has it, or Diane? Can't be about Ocelot Street.
No. I just have a question. With the meetings, which I love that you're all here, being that it's every 3 months, is there a way when you have an agenda, let's say Ocelot, for example, on there for next Tuesday, that we can email questions or concerns so that you would hear what we have to say, since it won't be until 3 months down the road, if that makes sense, what I'm saying?
Citizens are not only always welcome, but encouraged to let us know how they're feeling about any issue in the county. And you would be surprised how many times you don't necessarily hear specifically that citizen A, B, or C said something, but that all of us are responding in some way to a citizen concern. Okay. So yes, I encourage you to do that.
Okay, it was just that I know that one time when they were on February 3rd bringing the Ocelot to
and I think that was Commissioner Stewart reacting to you.
Right, but it just seemed like they didn't talk about the children. They talked about the residents not wanting the
Well, you're never going to get exactly what you want in conversation.
But the big thing is the children. But I was just curious that if there was an email where people can write in, and then it would be part of the conversation, as in, the concern of the majority was saying this, this, and this, and then it would be, kind of stated.
Just try us.
Okay.
That's all I can
right,
suggest. I also want to mention that this is obviously the first one of these quarterly town hall meetings. We are going to do this next time in District 2, and that is scheduled for June 30th, a Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. at the Bryans Road Firehouse. And so thank you all very much for coming out. Great questions, great concerns. We have your contact information for those of you who will be awaiting answers on certain issues. Thanks again to staff for being here, to our directors, fellow commissioners, Thank you all. And so I will need a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?